You will return from space broken, not metaphorically, not in some abstract psychological sense. Your skeleton will have lost density. Your eyes will have changed shape. Fluid that normally pools in your legs will have shifted permanently toward your skull. Your DNA will carry damage that wasn't there before. And your brain, the organ doing the reading right now, will have physically shrunk in volume. This is not speculation. This is what the data shows. And we are planning to send humans to Mars anyway. Let's start with something that feels like triumph. On April 12, 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first human to leave Earth. He was in space for 108 minutes. He returned a hero. The footage shows him smiling, waving, walking normally. The narrative was clean. Humanity had reached space and come back intact. What the narrative didn't include was what the Soviet medical teams found when they examined him afterward. It didn't include what we now know happens to a human body when it leaves the gravitational environment it evolved inside over for billion years of biological history. 108 minutes was enough to begin the process. Let's be precise about this. Your body was built for Earth. Every system inside you, cardiovascular, skeletal, neurological, immune, was shaped by one specific condition: a constant downward pull of 9.8 meters per second square. Gravity is not just a force your body tolerates. It is the signal your body uses to decide what to build and what to discard. Remove that signal, everything changes. In the first 24 hours of spaceflight, the human body begins redistributing its fluids. On Earth, gravity pulls blood and fluid toward the lower body. In microgravity, that pull disappears. Fluid shifts upward, toward the chest, toward the head. Astronauts describe it as a permanent head cold, facial puffiness, nasal congestion that never clears, a sensation of pressure behind the eyes that doesn't go away. That pressure is not benign. Inside the skull, cerebrospinal fluid, the liquid that cushions and protects the brain, accumulates in excess. Intracranial pressure rises, and that pressure pushes against the optic nerves at the back of each eye, gradually deforming the eyeball itself. The condition is called spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome, SANS. It was formally identified in 2011, though the symptoms had been reported for decades before anyone connected them into a coherent diagnosis. Here's what that actually means. Approximately 70% of astronauts who spend extended time in space return with measurable structural changes to their eyes. The back of the eyeball flattens, the optic nerve swells, the vision degrades, sometimes mildly, sometimes severely. For some astronauts, the changes are permanent. For a small number, the damage is significant enough that it would ground them under normal aviation medical standards. We sent them to space. Their eyes changed shape. Some of them cannot see as well as they used to, and we do not fully understand why some astronauts are affected severely and others are not. But here's the problem. The eyes are not the only organ under pressure. The skeleton begins losing mass within the first week of spaceflight. On Earth, bones are in a constant state of remodeling. Old bone tissue broken down, new tissue built in its place. The process is regulated partly by mechanical load. When you walk, run, or simply stand, the stress on your bones signals the body to maintain density. Remove that stress in microgravity, and the signal disappears. Bone loss in space proceeds at approximately 1 to 2% per month in weight-bearing bones. The hip, the spine, the femur. Astronauts on 6-month missions to the International Space Station lose the equivalent of what an osteoporosis patient loses in a year. Exercise helps. Every astronaut on the ISS spends 2 hours per day exercising, resistance training, cycling, running on a treadmill with bungee cords pulling them against the surface. 2 hours per day of structured physical effort, specifically designed to slow a process that the human body initiates automatically. The moment gravity disappears, it slows the loss. It does not stop it, and some of that bone density never returns. Studies of astronauts more than a year after landing show measurable long-term deficits in skeletal density. Compared to pre-flight baselines, the body rebuilds, but not completely. Not always. And then something happened that changed how seriously we take all of this. Scott Kelly spent 340 days aboard the International Space Station between 2015 and 2016. His identical twin brother, Mark Kelly, also an astronaut, genetically his exact copy, stayed on Earth for the same period. It was the closest thing to a controlled experiment the human body in space has ever produced. The results were not reassuring. Scott's telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of chromosomes that shorten with age and cellular stress, actually lengthened in space, then shortened rapidly upon return to Earth. His gut microbiome changed composition. His cognitive performance showed measurable decline in certain tests following the mission. His gene expression, not his DNA sequence, but which genes were actively switched on or off, differed from his twin in hundreds of documented ways after the mission. Most changes reversed within months of returning to Earth. Not all of them did. 7% of Scott Kelly's gene expression changes had not returned to baseline a year after landing. His body had been altered at the molecular level by the experience of spaceflight, and those alterations persisted. The mechanism is not fully understood. The long-term consequences are unknown. Let's be precise about this. We sent a human to space for less than a year. A year later, his biology still showed the effects. And a Mars mission, a real one, not a flyby, would require somewhere between 18 months and 3 years of total spaceflight time, including the transit, the surface stay, and the return. 3 years. The ISS is in low Earth orbit. It sits inside Earth's magnetic field, which deflects a significant portion of cosmic radiation. Beyond that field, in deep space, on the way to Mars, the radiation environment is categorically different. Cosmic rays, solar particle events, high-energy particles that pass through spacecraft walls, through spacesuits, through flesh, through the nucleus of every cell they encounter. On the ISS, astronauts receive approximately 50 to 80 millisieverts of radiation per 6-month mission. The career limit for NASA astronauts is 600 millisieverts, threshold set based on a 3% increased lifetime risk of fatal cancer. A Mars transit, depending on solar activity and shielding, would expose crew members to somewhere between 300 and 600 millisieverts in transit alone, one way, there and back, surface time included. The math approaches or exceeds what NASA currently defines as the acceptable lifetime limit for a single mission. And radiation doesn't just cause cancer. High-energy particles damage the central nervous system directly. Studies in mice exposed to simulated Mars-level cosmic radiation showed significant cognitive impairment, reduced performance on memory tasks, increased anxiety behaviors, measurable changes in brain structure. The hippocampus, a region central to memory formation, showed particular vulnerability. We have not done this experiment in humans because we cannot ethically do it, but we have the mouse data, and the mouse data is not encouraging. Here's what that actually means. A crew sent to Mars would arrive after 6 months of continuous radiation exposure, bone loss, fluid shifts, and potential cognitive decline, and then they would need to function. They would need to make precise decisions, operate complex equipment, respond to emergencies, conduct scientific work on a planet with no medical evacuation, no resupply, no rescue. If something goes wrong on the ISS, a Soyuz capsule can return a crew to Earth in 3.5 hours. If something goes wrong on Mars, the next launch window back to Earth is 26 months away. The body we are planning to send to Mars is not the body that will arrive. 6 months of spaceflight will have changed it, and we do not yet know, precisely and reliably, whether the body that arrives will be capable of doing what we need it to do. That's not a reason not to go, but it is a fact that tends to get buried under the momentum of the mission. We talk about the rockets, the landing systems, the habitats, the surface rovers. We talk about the distance, the duration, the cost. We talk less about the human body as a system with hard biological limits that spaceflight actively degrades. On a timeline that a Mars mission would push into genuinely unknown territory, Scott Kelly came back from 340 days in space, and spent months relearning how to walk properly. His feet hurt when they touched the ground. His skin had become so sensitive that normal contact felt painful. His body had forgotten, in a precise and measurable way, what it was built for. He recovered, mostly. A Mars crew would have no recovery period. They would land and immediately begin their surface mission in a gravity environment, 1/3 of Earth's. Enough to feel different from the ISS, not enough to undo what the transit had done. The universe does not adjust to our schedules. The body does not pause its deterioration because the mission requires it to. We are made for one specific world. We evolved here, calibrated to its gravity, its radiation shielding, its atmospheric pressure, its biological rhythms. Every kilometer we travel away from it is a kilometer our biology was not designed to survive. And we are planning to travel to 125 million of them. The science will improve. The shielding will get better. The countermeasures will become more effective. This is probably true. Progress tends to be real, even when it is slow. But right now, today, the honest answer to the question of whether a human body can survive a Mars mission and return intact is, we don't know. We think so. We hope so. That is not the same thing.